Hi, welcome back to another Murdering Rex Heuermann. We got up to the statements about the Catholic charities, and I wanted to possibly look up. We found out that Rex Heuermann had a sister, and I don't know if you want to see me today. I'm pretty much. I haven't slept this much for a while, so I feel refreshed. So I'm a bit more alert today. I sleep about 3 hours a night, so I don't sleep well. And I've been watching Odd Stop's content. Superb content. Superb. I want to talk a bit more about I don't know. I won't take someone's credit for someone else's work, and this is someone else's work who's investigated this, and I'm really honoured to be able to read it out to you guys, and I don't want to do an injustice by missing things. So we will have to go over the priest connection to Heuermann, because I think it's very valid. Alan Placa was accused of running a child sex abuse ring, right? Orchestrated a cover-up on the CS abuse ring for Catholic Church. Monsieur Placa was being distinguished by Pope himself. He is best friends with Ruby Giuliani's lawyer. Now, we spoke about that in the last one, so I can't really go into it again. Misconduct concerns. Now, I'm going to have to read this out and stuff like that. That's why I stopped where I was last time. So much you can read out. Pat McAdoe, right, however I'll slaughter words, I'm sorry, believed the boy was about to unalive himself because of the unrelenting attentions of the young priest when she met 8 years ago with Miss Placa, and I reckon it's Heuermann as well. Then, I'm not meaning Heuermann, I mean his cousin who's a priest. 8 years ago with Alan Placa, then one of the most powerful men in the diocese in Rockville. The 14-year-old former altar boy told her during a religious retreat that the Reverend Joseph Mundy had confided how lonely he was, how difficult celibacy was, and how the two of them needed each other. McDowell, then a religious educator, told Placa she believed Mundy was grooming the boy for S, and asked Placa what he would do about it. Wow. Okay. Well then, she wanted to know whose job it was to protect the boy. Placa looked away from her and lit a cigarette. That's when I knew nothing would be done, said McDowell, a psychologist now, and a columnist for the diocese's newspaper Long Island Catholic. Starting in the mid-1980s, when the cases of the priest's S abuse claim came to national attention, Alan Placa played a central role in how such complaints were handled in Long Island. A nationally recognised legal expert on S abuse, Placa 57 was chief architect of the diocese policy and one of its chief executives until he stepped down as vice chancellor in the mid-April. Now, even as a Suffolk grand jury probes possible obstructions of justice by top church officials, questions are being raised about Placa's performance in his job, as well as about his conduct 25 years ago when he taught high school boys aspiring to be priests. Investigators are examining the complaints that Placa and other top officials placed troubled priests back into jobs where they had contact with children, sometimes against the advice of psychiatrists, a charge Placa denies. Victims meanwhile say that he was evasive and lacked compassion in dealing with their complaints, and at his dual role as priest confidant and legal counsel to the bishop was not made clear to them, putting them at a disadvantage. Alan Placa was the point person on issues for the diocese, and he handled these cases quietly as possible to the detriment of the victim, to the detriment of the priest, as well as the detriment of the church in the long run. Robert Fulton, a former director of Priest Health Services in Rockville Centre, who has since left priesthood, he can't possibly send the interest of the priests. I can't see that, I don't know why. Here we go. Rockville Centre, who has since left the priesthood, you can't possibly represent the interest of the priest, the victim, and the diocese at the same time as he did. Placa dismisses such criticism, saying balancing victims' concerns against the rights of the priest was difficult, inherently conscientious job. I have one set of critics saying I've been involved in a cover-up and not reported things, and that is absolutely untrue, he said. On the other side, I have priests criticising me because I've been overly aggressive, because I don't go to bat for the priest. But in many ways, Placa's response to the Monday complaint is emblematic. Critics say of how he seemed to place a higher priority on protecting priests and the reputation of the diocese than on protecting youthful victims. A short time after MacDonald met with Placa, the boy's mother went to him at Monday's request to put in a good word for the priest, who was a close family friend, but she said Placa never told her MacDonald's concern that the relationship was becoming sexual, and she had no suspicion of that herself. Priest F. He was a key church response to victims, but was an abuser himself, grand jury says. This is about Placa. He is a priest and a civil attorney who boasted of his natural renown as an expert on priest abuse. But I don't know what that means. But Priest Alan Placa, former Vice-Chancellor of the Diocese of Rockville Centre, emerges from the pages of Suffolk Grand Jury reports as a master of deception. He held himself out as a protector of children, even though he too had been repeatedly accused of making advances to adolescent boys. The report cites sworn testimony of 3 men who accused Placa of numerous advances while they were adolescents 25 years ago. Later, as diocese chief contact with victims, Placa pursued aggressive legal strategies to defeat and discourage litigation of publicity about priests' abuse. Those strategies included gathering information that might be used as, if necessary, to impeach victims' credibility, even in cases involving legal allegations of priest and sodomy that he and others knew were credible. The result said, while the report does not identify Placa by name, it provides sufficient details about his career to make him identifiable as Priest F, a parish priest who became a teacher at a boys' high school and later a civil attorney who went on to write diocese policies in abuse. This is a person who is directly involved in the so-called policy of the Church to protect children when in fact he was one of the abusers. Suffolk District Attorney Thomas Spota said yesterday, declining to identify the official expert as Priest F. That speaks volumes for what this diocese's real intention was. So I feel myself that by using Rex Heuermann as an architect, a builder, they could have that money for themselves, whatever funds they got, the big funds, they just makes sense to me, using someone like him to get through the most scrimping, sorry about my cat, the most scrimping cost for a priest. Hey, I watched you yesterday, say hello. Hello. Right. I feel that they had Heuermann as a sort of a launderer of money of some kind, Placa, who did not testify before the grand jury, did not respond to calls at his residence at St. Aloysius in Great Neck, or at the office in Giuliani Partners. So he worked in the partnership with this guy who lived next to Heuermann and knew him. And I think it's through this that what the Murder Inc. is saying. A childhood friend, a spokeswoman, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I'm speaking on my behalf so far. I feel that Heuermann was, in some respects, buying properties. He did. I mean, he didn't just have the property in New York, did he? He had properties elsewhere. And also, it's a great way of funneling money and cleaning money up by having a legitimate business like that do that for you. Like Trump did for the mafia, having a Trump Tower. Okay. Buying properties, funneling money. Oh gosh, I've got a legal source of income. Anyway, Placa, who did not testify before the grand jury, did not respond to the calls at his residence, where he worked as former New York City Mayor Ron Giuliani, a childhood friend, a spokeswoman of Giuliani, said the former mayor stood by the priest, who he described as one of the kindest, most caring, smartest people I know. Placa resigned as a vice-chancellor in April, a week after being confronted with the allegations. story detailing those allegations, the diocese suspended his faculties as a priest pending on his own investigation. The diocese officially said last week that the probe was ongoing. Now, I'm not sure what date this is. Unsure, sorry guys. I'll look up now. I mean, it just seems odd that, like, Ruby, Giuliani and all that, and then Harry Feingold, is it living by his residence, or it got his old residence. It's like the funneling money through businesses. Yeah, I've gone back to the bit on Harry Feingold. Oak Beach residents alleged child abuse ringleader, fixer of the Catholic Church, Alan Placa, shows an address at 21 South End Avenue, 1 block from Oak Beach resident Harry Feingold, cocaine dealer and pornography. You know, 1 block, sorry, is that? Okay. I'm just trying to figure out the date of this. 2012 to 13. I mean, he even looks a bit mobsterish, doesn't he? I mean, it just makes a lot more sense if you make, you know, he's a film director of, I mean, he's right next door to Alan Placa or Joseph Brewer. It just seems no coincidence with Shannan. Sometimes I really don't know, but I really do feel like it's a hunt. Different categories each time for different film, perhaps, you know. I love how they put this together because it must have took a very long time. I can't believe people have taken credit for it when, you know, someone has done all this work, you know. It is a lot of work, and I'm reading it out. I'm not copying. I'm not pretending it's my data. I'm not into doing that. Never have, you know, and it tells straight away where I got from. But I've been trying to understand it more than trying to make it sound like it's not getting to what it's trying to say. Sometimes you really need to pay attention, and there's times when I'm all read up and I just can't, okay? But we need to read these things. See, I have read this before, but I don't know about this, you know what I mean, because I have read about Kenneth Heuermann through Murder Inc. and I'm unsure if this has come up, but it should have. The grand jury report cites claims of 4 alleged victims, 3 of whom testified, dating to Placa's first parish assignment in St Patrick's in Glen Cove, and continuing after he became a teacher and a dean at the new defunct St Pius X preparatory bloody hell, seminarily in Unidale. Priest F was cautious but relentless in his pursuit of victims at the school. The report says he fondled boys over their clothes, usually in his office. Always his actions were hidden by a poster, a newspaper or a book. Ew. One of the alleged victims testified how he was touched behind a banner made for a march protesting the Supreme Court Roe and Wade decision. The report said once Priest F approached one of the boys behind the school stage, he grabbed his parts. The boy reacted violently, pushing the priest away and warning him to touch him again. Another alleged victim, former altar boy from Glenclove, described one of the reports called feeble. The report's most stinging criticism is directed at Placa's work on the Dionysus so-called interventions team that held allegations of abuse until the system was overhauled by the spring by Bishop William Mithy. Placa was often the first contact with the victims. They rarely knew he was a civil attorney who represented the bishop and as such was gathering materials that might be used to defend the Dionysus. Please do not identify me as an attorney. 2 complaints, he wrote at the top of the officials of the Dionysus in a confidential memo quoted in a report. In fact, in these cases, I'm functioning in an administration capacity. My legal training is very useful in helping to gather and analyse facts and in helping us to avoid some obvious pitfalls, but we must avoid frightening people. I've had several people refuse to see me without having an attorney. Well, not surprised, mate. You're manipulating them. I'm going to put my makeup on. I can read and put makeup on. My legal training is very useful and helpful in helping gather and analyse facts and in helping us to avoid some obvious pitfalls, but we must avoid frightening people. I have several people refuse to see me without me having an attorney. Of their own presence, because they are afraid that the church lawyer will be somehow do them harm. The grand jury wrote that the fears of these victims were justified. And rightly so, I feel it is. Routinely, the report said, Placa dragged out, procrastinated for the sole purpose of making sure Well, I've gone dyslexic again. That the civil and criminal status is limitation of the limitations were no longer applicable. In one case involving the Reverend Brian McKenna, Keon, Keon. Placa reportedly told a nun who had brought together victims and their families that the meeting was a waste of time because the statute of limitations had expired. Bastard. Her response was heartfelt, the report said. She said, "You bastard." The people are hurting. Why do you care about the statute of limitations? That's not why we're here. In that same case, a newspaper clipping recounting a drunken drive accident in which an intoxicated driver caused the death of a driver's sister was placed in McKeon's file. The driver was a witness to one of the acts of abuse according to the report. Now, is that going to be like connected to his brother, I wonder? Because he had an accident, didn't he? His brother. Yeah, actually had a drink driving accident. I don't know if he killed anyone though. The accident was related to the death of his sister. Could you be used against him because should his allegations of a priest misconduct ever become public? Oh no, it's not though. It's not. Yeah, it is part of his court priest statements, they say, don't they? Child abuse is an insidious crime that takes many forms. Some are more overt than others. In Priest F's case, this conduct was at first equivocal. His victims weren't really sure it was happening to them. That is, until it happened again and again and again. Priest F's assignment. He appears to have made a feeble attempt in abusing boys. Who was at the altar service. Once when he was working at the rectory on a slow evening, the boy was in the office watching TV. Priest F came in and asked if he could join him. He pulled up a chair next to the boy and put his hand on his thigh. Slowly his hand began to creep up towards the boy's parts. Alarmed, the boy covered his parts. Priest Ephes pushed his arm away and failed. That's a powerful position to be in and to abuse someone. Slowly as alarmed, the boy covered himself. The Ephes pushed him away, his arm away, failed. Priest F gave up and left. The boy remembered Priest Ephes and pushed his arm up, and Priest F was very nervous. He never told anyone at the time because he didn't think anyone would believe him. The conduct repeated itself even within a week. Only this time the boy crossed his legs as soon as Priest F pulled up a chair. Even so, Priest F tried to push his hand between the boy's legs. Throughout both encounters, Priest F never said a word. Even after the second accident, the boy never told anyone. It wasn't an incident, sorry. He was embarrassed and didn't want any of his friends to think he was a homosexual. The victim came forward decades later, only after priest have denied the abuse. Anyone in the local paper story about this abuse of the priest just kept denying it. I do feel that there's been occasions on Long Island, and it would make sense to look into the guy who had the escort agency, and I will look into him, because there's just something about him, yeah. You know, he ended up in prison because in the end, because he was running a trafficking organisation, I'd say. Can't remember his name now, which is really annoying. Giuliani, someone. Oh, it's not going to come up now. Oh, never mind. Look how you can just get on the water and import what you want there. I wonder if that was an import, like, you could dump, like, you know, what's it called? A lot of, you know, drugs and stuff like that through a pattern of, you know, these people are so connected in a way. It's just so strange. I mean, was Shannan set up? Were they plotting to kill her that day? She felt like that, and it was probably possible that she was getting chased and shot at, or he had all kinds of weaponry. I mean, all that weaponry he had, what's all that about? You know, is he lending his friends a piece of weapon each time he's doing it? Are they going to like go to play, like in his eyes, play and go into big areas and dropping these girls in the middle of somewhere, and all of them hunting out the friggin' trees, you know? I imagine that's terrifying. I can see that existing. I can. And people think I'm crazy for saying it, but no. No, I definitely feel that way about it. People spot things more better than me, please tell me. It's just me reading off here. I sometimes miss what the plot, what the conclusion could be. Even tried to harm someone who's lost his father and at a funeral home. Disgusting human being. Sister Mary, related to Heuermann apparently. She lived till the 90s as well. She says here, her family will be calling her throughout all the day, all scheduled by her nephew Rex. Enjoy this oversized card with collages of images created for sisters' greetings. Rex Heuermann's client was Catholic Charities where Placa worked. Wow. Okay, now we're getting there. Okay, you can find out this stuff. I really don't know how we found out this stuff. RH Consultants and Associates Incorporated was in 1994 founded by Rex Heuermann, a registered architect. RHC has extensive experience providing over 30 years of service dealing with New York City building code. The New York City Building Code, the New York City Department of Buildings and major city agencies. Throughout the years, Rex Heuermann has provided services to other agencies, not-for-profit agencies, builders, developers and individual owners of buildings in regard of ADA, New York City and New York State Code, as well as zoning consultations. RHC provides expediting services and special inspections mandated by law. He has also successfully presented his clients to the New York City Landmark Preservation Commission numerous times. His clients include Catholic Charities, NYC, DEP, Sewage Treatment and American Airlines, and other major tenants at the JFK International Airport. He has an expert team with successful experience in all aspects of building regulations and best practices. Alan Placa worked on the same lot as Rex Heuermann's auntie, Sister Mary D. Plaza in Hicksville, where they ran a Catholic Charities and organisations was heavily involved. Heuermann was heavily involved with in New York City. A little bit much, you know. Put a little bit too much on. I'm not sure if we'll get the answers we want from Heuermann. I really don't think he's going to be honest about what he's done or anything, and neither is his family. I do feel his family know, but it's more than their life's worth, perhaps, confessing to that and being honest about it. Maybe it'll cause a lot more problems for them, you know. I don't know, do you? I mean, yeah, my lashes have gone really long since I've been taking vitamins for my hair. been eating these gummies from Superdrug and they're really helping me hair. Oh no, not from Superdrug, from Boots. Superdrug ones didn't work that well. Actually they did. But it wasn't the, it was the capsules, you know. But I prefer the gummies because then I know I'll eat them, you know. I'm no good at slapping loads of slap on my face, by the way. It's just, I've got to go out soon. I've been enjoying doing this, and even though I haven't had many views, and God knows why, right? I don't know, because maybe I'm doing the same thing as someone else, reading it out. I have no idea and don't know. It just seems like maybe I'm being copyrighted for this. I feel like that. Like I'm sort of being not shown out on the algorithm for some reason. Who knows? I don't know. But I do enough videos. Maybe they think I'm trolling. I have no idea. But I've been trying to inform everyone loads more detail about this than Nathan. Nathan does sort of pass this off as if it's his own calling. It's not. In 1939, Florence Socha entered the Sisters of Mercy convent in Syosset in some as and become a nun. She took the name Sister Mary de Plaza and has had a very long career as a teacher in the Diocese of Rockville Centre. Sister Mary has been a nun for over 84 years. Now, her nephew is the Long Island serial killer, Rex Heuermann. Now, I've watched a few of Nathan's now, I've not heard that, you know. So people aren't getting the information that Murder Inc. are actually putting out there. And to me, what's the point in doing something if you're just going to do a disservice to it? You know. This is more than just a serial killer here. You know, this is a problem throughout. This is what Murder Inc. are saying. This is what Murder Inc. are pulling. There's an abuse of power here. You know. Max Factor red lipstick. Always Max Factor. My nan used to always smell beautiful, and it was because she used to wear Max Factor, I think. I love the smell of that. I'm not one of them girls who put me lippy on the fucking camera. It just seems ridiculous. But thanks for letting me do that. So, let's read on. Sister Mary, one of the clients listed on Rex Heuermann's architecture and consulting firms website is Catholic Charities, the same charity where Aaron Placa was Director of Development. The same charity where Alan Placa was Director of Development, Alan Placa worked for the Diocese of Rockville Centre for decades, just like Rex Heuermann's aunt, Sister Mary. Catholic Charities of Diocese of Rockville Centre is located at 90 Cherry Lane in Hicksville, New York. Sister Mary address history shows 128 at Cherry Lane as a long time residence. This is The address of the Diocese of Rockville Centre Department of Education, where she was a teacher and a sister convent of Holy Trinity School and St. Catholic Charities. And we spoke about the Asian community going over there and how he felt like, Michael Hans was a priest who was convicted of abusing children and said Placa abused him when he was a child. He was found dead in his cell in what authorities called a suicide. Long Island priest and long life pal of former Mayor Ruby Giuliani used the church insurance money to buy silence from boys who had accused him of abuse, a disgraced priest claims in a sworn statement. The charge was made in a bombshell deposition by Reverend Michael Hans, who himself was convicted of sodomy on a 13-year-old Northport, Long Island boy. Hans charged Alan Placa, 57, reached secret settlements with victims that avoided any mention of misconduct, and said instead that the issue involved drunken driving claim against Placa. Alright. Placa was the man who had the authority in some level to take 50 grand that he could get from his diocese, from their insurance department, and use that to pay off some who had claimed that they were victimised by him, said Hans. The settlement itself would say that the issue said not involve sexual misconduct. He shrewdly covered that up by paying them off. Hans is cooperating with the corruption investigation against the diocese in Rockville Centre leadership in Suffolk, Nassau County. His 138 statements will be issued in a civil lawsuit against the diocese, said Michael Dowd, a lawyer from more than 100 clients who say they were abused, attacked by paedophile priests. Placa could not be reached for comment yesterday. The diocesan representative said officials would not comment on Hans' deposition. The priest, the Reverend Michael Hans, said the official offered him some money to pay for insurance, medical care and therapy, but then it was very important that I also gave them my silence. What Hans did, a former priest who served prison time for a 14-year-old Long Island boy in August 2000, was found dead in apparent suicide in his jail cell. Update Tuesday, while the silencing on a new SA abuse charges. Um, 51, formerly Greenwich, Connecticut, was found dead in his cell in County Jail and Bolliston Spa at 1:45 during the routine check of inmates, and was believed to have unalived himself. Saratoga County officials said an autopsy would be performed to determine the cause of death. Hans was a key witness in the 2002 grand jury investigation of the conduct and the Suffolk County prosecutors that led 182 reports alleging that priests in the Diocese of Rockville Centre abused children over decades. No indictments resulted from the probe, however, and the status of limitations for some of the offences alleged have expired. The State Commission of Corrections, which looks at all in-custody deaths in the state, confirmed it was investigating Hans' death at the jail. Suffolk County District Attorney John Spota's special grand jury investigation into the abuse of children in the Diocese of Rockville Centre led to no questions. No charges. No charges were done against it. The DA takes on Dionysus. Suffolk grand jury eyes Perv priests cover up. It is. It's a cover up that. Gotta stop with this. Spota, church-going Roman Catholic years, also led a major investigation in 2003 that revealed essay and cover-ups of it by 58 priests in the Diocese of Rockville Centre. None of the priests could be indicted because their actions had been taken place beyond the 5-year statute of limitations. Spota found the diocese had kept a special uninsured piles fund to pay the SA victims for their silence. The grand jury finds the actions of diocese officials who were responsible for making and implementing the policy reprehensible, and urges the state's legislature and other elected officials to adopt the recommendations that follow. The grand jury understands that the government must not interfere with the practice of religion and does not seek to do so in its recommendations. The grand jury is sensitive to and mindful of the constitutional principles of separation of church and state that will all cherish. However, the grand jury also knows that the government has an obligation to protect citizens, especially the most vulnerable ones, the children. Alan Placa was cleared of all alleged charges by the Vatican Pope himself, John Paul II. I'm just going to have a coffee a second. I'm just going to get a coffee. It's such a horrible position to be in. For some reason I can't remember 5 years of my childhood. I think something happened to me when I was younger. You know, for me to just blank 5 years of my life like that, I don't remember them. Yeah. That could be because I've got like ADHD, I don't know, but I've like forgotten all like 5 years of my childhood. It's just strange. I don't remember my mum getting married, don't remember my brother being born, none of it, you know, just don't. But I remember from the age of 7 upwards, but just don't remember the rest. It's just got a horrible memory problem. Yeah. It's out in Placa. For everyone to know, I think he's probably dead now. Let's hope. I know Reverend Heuermann died last year in November. And you know what? He got a place in Manhattan, a Manhattan church, which disgusted me more than anything. You know? I mean, it's just, yeah. You don't find my reading out cheesy, do you? I hope I read it out okay for everyone. I know I'm a very chill person and not dramatic enough, but I prefer to be like that than I can't put an act on. I really can't. You know, I can't make myself sound excited when I'm more, to be honest, disturbed by it. You know, so I can't put that reporter voice on. Really can't. And I'm doing this. I can with other things, but just this, it's just, I feel that this person needs to be credited for all the information they found, you know. And I couldn't believe, like, after like a year of watching Nathan, I only realised it's from this that he's got his information from. He hasn't got his information from it anywhere else, you know. He's just ran through it, read it, and then just come to his own conclusion, which is okay. But when you're not saying that and giving credit to things like this, then you're undermining the whole idea behind writing this. It's about the church as well as the victims, you know. Okay, kind of Reverend and Rex Heuermann are important too, but why is he connected to the church in this way? You know, isn't no one going to ask that? That's why I find it frustrating, because I was hoping, and then I found out he was doing that, I was hoping that he'd say, yeah, there's some connection to the church, there's this going on as well. But he vaguely mentioned it, and that was it. He goes, oh, I've done an episode with you in it. I was like, oh yeah. Well, I'm reading it all out and getting no views, but you're soaking it all up, and like, then like, you've got help as well. I ain't got help, I'm just here reading it. And I'm not the best reader in the world, but I have worked with legal, so that helped a little. But I've also worked in accountancy, so I can see what he's doing. You know what I mean? So I can see what Heuermann's doing. It happens a lot. I'm just making a coffee. Ladies, I've got this to show you. If you've got a little shop by yours, get this. It smells like the Miss Dior one. Beautiful. Got my daughter it, but I'm sort of pinched it. It's better than mine. I hate it because I love Dior and it smells like Dior. It's really good. Really good. £5. £5. Mine's like 150, £5. I swear it's from the same friggin' bottle company, I swear. Swear it's from Dior. No. See, I don't know how to pause this, but I'll be on my phone, but I would like to read this out properly to you. So, on the November 24th of 2023, by Ben Feuerhead, Alan Placa has for years faced accusations of SA, even as he maintained a close professional and personal relationship with Giuliani, a former New York Catholic priest and a long-time friend of ex-mayor Rudy Giuliani, is facing a new abuse lawsuit from a man who says he was rugged and R-worded on Fire Island by once a powerful clergy. The lawsuits filed in Albi on November 16th alleged that Monsieur Alan Placa molested a plaintiff when he was a teenager from 75 to 77. Placa was first accused of abuse in 2002. Now, when we look back on Rex Heuermann's uncle, he around that time as well was abusing children. So, do we say they're both together? Yeah. The accuser who filed the lawsuit anonymously as John Doe met Placa at St. Pius X, a preparatory what's wrong with me? Preparatory school on Long Island, New York, which was part of the Roman Catholic Diocese in Rockville Center. The complaint states, Placa, who was teaching at the school, abused a teenager first at the school in January 1975, according to the lawsuit. In the fall of that year, Alan Placa and another priest took the teen and another boy to a home on Fire Island, a beach community on the northern shore of Long Island. Where Shannan was Jones Island. Is it? Oh, was it Jones Fire Island? Don't know. It sounds like he took her to a house, Peter Hackett had a spare house there. Now I wonder if he had a spare house for this type of shit. Yeah. In the fall of that year, Placa and another priest took the teen and another boy to Fire Island, a beach community in southern shore of Long Island, the suit alleges. At the home, Placa rugged and R-worded, the complaint said. The plaintiff is seeking specified damages to be determined by jury at trial, according to the suit. Attorneys of the plaintiff did not respond to a request to comment. Richard Tollner, 62, Albi area resident, previously described being abused by Placa as a 15-year-old at St. Pius X and on Fire Island in the same time frame in a separate lawsuit filed in 2019. Placa orchestrated a meeting between John Paul II and his best friend Rudy Giuliani in 1995. There you go, there he is. Placa at a Newport airport yesterday for the start of his visit, which lasted 4.5 days. For free, a chance of a lifetime. He's no spring chicken, but even falling and breaking his pelvis last year didn't stop Dominique Giovanni on Glen Clove travelling to Arizona February, as he has done for 25 years, to work with Native American children. Only this time he went in a wheelchair. It's been something that I enjoyed, because I believe that whatever I have to help our Lord, I want to share it, said the grandfather. Odd. Pilgrim's Return. What date is this? This was some time ago, obviously. Mr. Alan Placa is Mayor Ruby Giuliani's lawyer and best friend. Giuliani's buddy and justice denied Ruby's old friend Alan Placa, a priest accused of child abuse. Ruby Giuliani was President Donald Trump's lawyer. Oh, right, yeah. Jesus Christ, I didn't remember that, yeah. Oh, God. I'm no big Trump fan, I'll be honest. I'm not. But I'm not going to get into politics. I hate politics, I really do. I really hate politics. That's probably why I don't get on with many people. Especially, like, my views on Israel, you know. History tells us that they've been given the opportunity to have status. It only lasted one day before they killed someone, and then he had the audacity to ask for it again after October 7th. Long Island serial killer victim Karen Vergotta fathered 2 children with Geneva Lind, a long-time employee of Trump Organization, who managed the buildings for Donald Trump and his father Fred Trump. Vergotta also lived in Trump Building. Wow. That is odd. That is odd. Wow. Especially with the Epstein connection, that's odd. It's a lot to take in, this. You know, Fred Trump was like the biggest racist. He wouldn't have black people living in his properties or anything like that. I'm not saying Trump's a racist, but his father certainly was. I agree with his way of trying to get structure and peace in places. I agree with that, but just don't agree with the way he goes about things, you know. It's just, I don't know. But I can see good points and bad points in everyone. I'm gonna be honest, I'm that way inclined. I'm not political. That's why I'm not political. I can't see good points in everything they say. It's like Labour, they say the same shit every fucking time. I'm not like into Labour. Labour's into the net. That's the name says. Just get everyone enslaved. That's what that means to me, Labour. So I'm really yeah. Yeah, read a bit about this. Karen Vergotta was one of his victims as well. She'll be there soon on his indictment. Ocean Parkway between Oak Beach and West Gilgo Beach, where the remains of 5 persons were found. Hairdresser absolutely had her own style. In the interview, Jimmy, another name, Biedrzycki, remembered starting a date with Gossa around 1980 after meeting her at Sergeant Pepper pub off Glen Clove Road in Glenhead. She was quiet and sweet. She was really beautiful, he said. Who grew up in Roseland. She was a partier. For Gossa, her favourite rock song was the nostalgic theme Gypsy. Oh, right, I like that one. She had an underlying sadness about her, possibly rooted in the death of her mother. Recalled her old boyfriend, who remembered she left the area around 1980. 1980 for Gossa seemed to be wandering up and down eastern seaboard, supported by her money from her father, court records show. By late September of 83, Gossa got into trouble in New Orleans, where she encountered more legal trouble connected to her drug use in Connecticut in 84. Court records show, including court-ordered drug treatment programs. Biedrzycki, who now lives in Virginia, said it was around 85 that Gossa returned briefly to Roseland area for a visit. A Brooklyn romance. In 1987, the federal court records show Gossa resurfaced in Shore Haven apartments in Brooklyn, where she had been living with a married man. Hueremann laid an immigrant from Saarbrücken in Germany, was a very hard-working man who his family has said resembled actor Christopher Plummer, and worked as a resident engineer and manager in the building. According to this is the building where Trump owned. Okay. According to his family, no bigger Trump, Fred Trump. According to his family, Lind was hired for the job by the late Fred Trump. Fred Trump, also of German ancestry, took a liking to Lind and gave him perks, including an apartment and a large complex the Trump family constructed in the late 1940s with federal housing grant money. According to Lind's wife, Lynette, who never divorced him even after 5 years of turmoil, her husband apparently met Gossa in Brooklyn, where she had been living at various addresses in the borough. Their relationship continued for a few years. He took pity on her, was how Dowshy believed the relationship began. He was the first one to take care of her. Gossa became pregnant with Gary in 1988 while still dealing with a major drug problem. 5 months pregnant, she walked across the busy Brooklyn. She disappeared on February 14th, 1996. And her severed legs were found in a plastic bag on Fire Island in April 20 of 96. Her skull was never found on Ocean Parkway in 2011. Her skull was found on Ocean Parkway in 2011 at the Long Island serial killer's Ocean Parkway mass grave site. Her father, Dominique Gossa, tried to report her missing, but the police refused. In 1996, Suffolk County Police Detective took a DNA sample to compare to the unidentified woman in Suffolk County. Karen Vergos's identity was not announced until 2023. Rain Paulino says she and her NYPD detective boyfriend accused RW brought Karen Vergos, two alleged Long Island serial killers. Oh yeah, the affidavit. Okay. She alleges that they took them both to Rex Heuermann's house in the Massapequa Park. Paulina claims her boyfriend had sex with Rex, and then says she saw Karen Vergos run naked from Heuermann's home as she rode away in the car with the detective.
If you don't know by now, Rex Heuermann is the hulking 6'4", 240-pound architect suspected of being a Long Island serial killer. The man with the nauseating porn search history who was charged with murdering and dumping at least 4 women. He's got a wife and 2 adult kids who also all live inside that rundown home. So what is it like inside there? What might have happened here? Lorraine Paulino was in that home. She partied with Rex and his wife and saw things that she now wishes she could change. And she is here with a Banfield exclusive. Lorraine, thank you so much for being here tonight. I so appreciate it. Can you just briefly summarize what were the circumstances that brought you inside that home?
Oh, we went to the home, me and my boyfriend who was a police officer, and we went to party with them. And we took a young lady with us to the party. So that's what it was about. It was a party.
And when you were inside in that home partying, did you come upon his wife Asa Ellerup or either of his adult kids, or who all was in there?
I met her. We met her when we came in, and then I sat with the guys in like a living room area, and she left when we went to the bedroom. So when we were finished, I asked her, "Where were you? You never came to the bedroom." I said, "Were you afraid of me or something?" And she said, "No, I'm not really into this. But, I'm glad you had fun." I said, "Thanks." I said, "But tell me more about yourself." And then she told me, "Oh, I'm a foreigner too." That's what she said. He brought me here from my country. And I said, "Wow." I said to her, she said, I feel happy he's rich. So I said to her, "Why don't we go shopping tomorrow?"
It sounds like that you were there, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. It was a long time ago, but it was a swingers sex party.
I just want to pull up as well, like people say about Victoria's art. I have people who are fairies in my life, right? That doesn't bother me. What I'm trying to articulate about her art was that all depicted people decapitated and tortured and tied up to a plank. So isn't that a coincidence, or is that because she's witnessed something? Now, I'm not blaming Victoria, but a lot of people thought that. Now, what I was saying was she knew about what he was up to.
Were all sorts of other people there as well. Did you get a good look at Rex Heuermann, and did you witness him in any kind of behavior? Did you see him engage in any sex during that party?
It wasn't a lot of people, it was me and my boyfriend and Rex and Karen and his wife and Eve. That was it. He smirks a lot, that I noticed. He really does smirk a lot. He rarely laughs, but he smirks a lot.
Did you notice when you said Karen? I should just tell our viewers.
I hate the way she interrupts, because this woman's actually met Rex and she's trying to describe what his character is, and do you know what, I 100% believe this woman.
I think you mean Karen Vergata. She was a murder victim known as Jane Doe number 7.
Yes.
And if I know your story correctly, Lorraine, when you were leaving with your boyfriend, you looked up in the window and you saw Karen Vergata, someone you believe is Karen Vergata, the woman you brought to the party, who was staying behind. You saw her up in the window, and you said you looked into her eyes and thought she looked frightened.
She looked scared. So I told him, I said, you said you spoke to her and she wants to stay because she's sleepy and hungry. He said, yes, she wants to stay. I said, okay, so why is she running outside? Now she's running outside. And he said, oh, you just watching everything. They're probably playing a game. Let's go home. And we left her there. And that's why I'm doing this, because I feel some sense of responsibility because we left her.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider.
Yeah, that was a lovely report, Banfield. Fuck's sake. Yeah, so so he worked at Trump's 40 Wall Street as well. Now known as Trump Building, the 71-story landmark property built in 1930s evidently needed some work on the 17th floor. Here we go. According to the filing, Heuermann was hired for a renovation office space to include a minor partition and plumbing changes. The job did not change use, egress or occupancy. The estimated cost was as little as 200 grand. Named a vice president of the property management for Trump's firm is listed under owner's information in the city filing. But according to the firm, the work was for a tenant, and the Trump executive name on the filing was formality, not an indication of a direct relationship with now infamous architect. Mr. Heuermann has never worked for Trump Organization in any capacity. A spokesperson for Trump Organization said, "It just creates more mob connections to me. According to our records, he was hired for the third-party tenants to vacate years ago to perform minor architectural work in an individual area." President Trump. That's a picture of Trump. Jeffrey Epstein was a terrific guy. Now he said he's not a big fan. Oh. I've gone through all this with Epstein, but I think there's a lot more going on to this. I'm going to read some on, right? Okay, I'm going to spend another half hour. I'm just going to grab my wash and hang on. This rabbit hole's getting very deep, isn't it? Okay. President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein all wedded a 13-year-old girl and kept her as a slave at Jeffrey Epstein's house in 1994. The plaintiff, Kara Johnson, resides in the state of California. Defendant Donald Trump resides in the state of New York. Factual allegations. The plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges defendant Trump and Jeffrey did willingly and with extreme malice violate her civil rights, and she was under 18. Plaintiff alleges she was subject to extreme and physical abuse by defendants Donald and Jeffrey Epstein, including a forcible R-word during a 4-month time span, covering the months of June and September of 94. The plaintiff Johnson was still only a minor at 13. Johnson alleged she was enticed by promises of money and modelling career to attend a series of underage parties held in New York residence. Defendant Epstein and attended with Trump. On the first occasion involving defendant Trump, plaintiff Johnson was forced manually stimulate Trump and used her hand upon the defendant with a pair of gloves on, apparently. Rape claim false, Trump says, obviously. Donald Trump denounced the charged California lawsuits that he raped a teenage girl 22 years ago. It was a bogus, cheap shot. The allegations are not only categorically false, but disgusting in a highest level and clearly framed to solicit media attention. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein allegedly also shared the same girlfriend, Selena Mildefort, who Epstein allegedly travelled frequently with to and from Suffolk County. Oh wow. Selena Mildefort, the glamorous Norwegian businesswoman Donald Trump allegedly dumped for Melania. Oh, I remember, yeah. He weren't with her long, was he? Or something. He weren't with her too long. Well, yeah, I remember. She met Trump in 98 at the Kit Kat Club in New York at a party thrown by Pablo Zamboli, owner of modelling agency. Their courtship story. I mean, these parties are going on. What makes you think that Rex Heuermann couldn't attend these types of parties? It's a network, isn't it? It seems like a network to me of bad people. I watched something on FBI cover, and apparently there is like codes, systems set up on people's like everyday stuff to symbolise that they are molesters, you know. Epstein on the East End trial record sheds new light on the convicted Hampton trips, which is in Long Island. She's denying that she travelled to the Hamptons with Jeffrey. Details of the multi-millionaire alleged sex traffickers' East End excursions emerged from flight records reviewed by Dan Papers and the recent Manhattan Federal Court of Ghislaine Maxwell, the British socialite connected to Epstein. She is appealing her December 29th conviction on 5 counts of trafficking and other charges related to the recruiting grooming of teenage girls for Epstein to abuse between 1994 to 2004. That's 20 years. Among the revelations in testimony and records are that Epstein travelled to the Hamptons with the heiress Selena Meldefort and his science advisor, neurosurgeon Melanie Walker, who reportedly helped introduce Epstein to Microsoft founder Bill Gates, the world's fifth richest man. Also listed in the manifests for more than 50 flights to and from the island, at least half a dozen of which involved the Hampton airports, where pilot Lawrence is pilot, who was the prosecution's first witness for Maxwell's trial. He said Miss Maxwell was number 2 to Mr. Epstein was number 1. Wysocki told jurors she was the one that pretty much handled most of the finances, my expenses and spending in the office. Jeffery's flight records at least 50 flights from Long Island to airports, including editor of Long Island Press, Timothy Bolger. This is really revealing a lot of crime connections, and I really do feel that there's a lot to gain from this if you really try. And I'm going to look up that article now, which has the list of everyone. Sometimes people don't delete these things, you see, and where's it gone? So knowing when that happens. Just underlined it as well. There it is. Can't go to it. Okay, I'm going to have to. I'll spell it wrong. Oh, I'll have to keep that away. I haven't seen this before. I'll have to go through it, eh? Thanks for the tip. Thanks for the tip, Murder Inc. Yeah, we'll have a look. We'll have a look, see if we got Dan's papers. They'll put it miles away, you know, so you don't see it. It's like they've got a little, like, club of some kind, you know? I can't find it. But it's good to know anyway. I'll go back to the... Oh, don't go to the beginning, please. Please. Okay, fair enough. Okay, it's going to show us something here. I'm just going to heat the coffee up, guys. Sorry you can't see me properly at the minute. It's probably the best. Okay. Epstein on the East End and trial records shed new light on convicted paedophiles' Hampton trips. Norwegian cosmetic heiress denies the late convicted person she ever went on an Elite Express to the island. Epstein's flight records listed 50 known flights from Long Island airports, including Tiffany Bolger's editor of Long Island Press. Details of Epstein's alleged trafficking flights from Long Island revealed. Long Island Press. Okay. Defendant's apparent previous willingness to obstruct federal investigation, harass and tamper witness, and hire private investigators that were forced off the road the father of an individual relevant to investigation is alarming. It should specifically weigh in the court's consideration here because the defendant was apparently willing to take those steps before even being charged and thus facing federal indictment. The incentive to interfere in the government's case here, where an indictment has been returned, is exponentially greater, and as discussed above, the defendant has nearly limitless means to do so. Finally, despite having been previously convicted involving an underage victim, the defendant continued to maintain vast trove of lewd photos of young-looking women or girls in his Manhattan mansion. In search of New York residents on the night of his arrest, in July 6th and 7th of 2019. Pursuant to judiciary authorised warrants, law enforcement officers discovered not only specific evidence consistent with victim recollections of the inside of the mansion, further strengthening the evidence of the conduct charged in the indictment, but also at least hundreds and perhaps thousands of suggestive photographs of fully or partially clothed women, females, or nude, partially nude, appeared to be underage, including at least one girl who, according to the accounts, was underage at the time of the relevant photographs were taken. Additionally, some of the photographs referenced herein discovered are locked safe, in which law enforcement officers also found compact discs with handwritten labels including the following: young blank, name blank. And it makes you think, is that what Heuermann was up to? Was he making audios or photos and getting rid of these photos quickly? Jeffrey Epstein's little black book lists police phone numbers labelled as cop hire. There you go. The 24-hour police. He puts Heidi Kolbeck, Jesse's mum, Jill Spira, Jodia, Karen Messer, Keisha, Gypsy's girl, Mike Pazzulo, Albert's neighbour, Joe McCary, Alan Sposanek. Oh wow. See, that's telling you something. Hour police. There's even some in England as well. Massage UK. Hello. Epstein's flights to Teterboro. One of Epstein's personal pilots made 730 flights to and from Teterboro Airport between November 1995 to August 2013. These are the most common destinations and departure points of those flights. Others include it's only showing half the graph, honey. St. Thomas, Palm Beach, Like she's got like a house in New Jersey. It's just one family house, you know what I mean, like a 3 up, 2 down, and that. And you know, she's a wealthy heiress. Why is she buying a house that small? And here it is. Looks like close to Epstein's, doesn't it? I mean, close to Heuermanns. Looks like the same type of street or area. Monter. What is that? Where's my pen? Yeah, my pen. I've forgotten to post my brother's birthday card. I'll have to do it tonight. I don't know when the bloody post is. Another one? How many books do I have? That's strange. It's estimated to be worth £2.5 grand. I mean, 261 grand. Jeffrey Epstein's temple on his private island. That weird temple-like structure on Epstein's island. Inside the temple, the piano tuner saw a Wurlitzer grand piano and a portrait of Epstein and the Pope. Wow. What the fuck is going on? Inside the after the go-kart, the golf cart driver dropped him off. Barons entered the building. Here's what he remembers about the interior. The floor appeared to be made of wood ware, covering with large oriental rug. The interior had 2 levels, with the first 4 to 6 feet at ground level, and the rest on a slightly raised platform accessed by the single step. To the right, against the eastern wall, was a nondescript grey couch or sofa. John Paul knew of the abuse as Archbishop reports claims. Of course he did. Photo of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the Pope being blessed. That's a good one. It's a good photo to keep in it. There's the photo. I mean, it's so peculiar, the house. It's just so weird. It's like got no taste to it or anything, has it? in the early 2000s. Don't you know that anyone can ask for a blessing and receive one? Do you really expect? I don't know. Don't really know. Located in Jeffrey Epstein's locked safe were photographs and compact discs labelled with young and then the name and add another name. He liked two girls, two little children. The defendant's apparent previous willingness to obstruct federal investigation, harass and tamper with witness for hire. Yeah, we spoke about all that, Anna. Police Chief James Burke was reportedly seen with Jeffrey Epstein at Castle Bar in Huntington, New York on Long Island. That's interesting.
I know. There's all kinds of rumors like that. There's a lot of hearsay. That's a hearsay upon hearsay. Some of it's valuable because some of it turns out to be true. But without evidence, I don't know where you go with things like that. I don't know. I mean, I can say that the police are focusing, or had been focusing on the actual murders, right? And that kind of limited their scope. The scope is far bigger, especially with all the information I'm getting now. We're involved in some fashion, all different kinds of people, all different kinds of perversions that are involved. The swapping business is a big part of it. There's a swapping club on Long Island, right here in Suffolk County, that was run by somebody who lived in Oak Beach. I mean, so I don't know what the synapses are going to bring us, but the scope needs to be widened significantly. Significantly. You know, you may have heard that when Shannan runs through his house after that blood-curdling scream,
I really don't know what.
Hear her knocking on doors. You can hear at least two different places where she knocked on doors before she gets to Calais. Okay? So if you go up that road, you can see there's two houses on the left before you get to Calais. And aside from all the other implications of that phenomenon, that occurrence, the house next door to Brewer, the next house up, where she would have knocked, and you hear the knock, belonged to Monsignor Alan Placa, who lived there with his lifelong boyfriend, Monsignor, what's his name? I forgot his name, Hueremann. Okay? And that's the door she definitely knocked on. You might say, so what? I mean, there's another one of the many coincidences, but Placa was implicated in the Catholic Church's sex scandals with children, and Heuermann is involved in some way. His family is involved deeply in the Catholic Church, and Placa. The only reason I bring it up is it sounds like maybe a coincidence, but Placa. First of all, Brewer claims he didn't know who he was. He was right next door to him. Yeah. Right? Placa put an application to the Board of Assessment Review, or whatever it's called, the small claims board that they have, when you want to get your property taxes reduced because you think that they've been the value has been overvalued of your property, you put an application in, and you go to a small claims part in the court. What's it called? It's a grievance, or tax grievance. Okay. So you put an application in, and you explain why your property isn't what it's valued to be, worth a lot less. Placa put in an application to reduce the taxes on his home by 61 point something percent. And he said that the reason he was doing that, this man who takes a vow of poverty, chastity, and obedience, okay, the reason he was doing that was because Shannan Gilbert knocked on his door. And because she did that, it reduced his property value. And he actually says that in his application. Now, mind you, he says that this Monsignor, who, by the way, was the architect of Fidelis Insurance Company and the chief executive for years of that, because that's the Catholic Church's insurance. It's $1 billion operation today, right? He was brilliant in putting that all together. Same guy. Okay. This man, knowing that the Gilbert family is still alive and well and fighting, put this application in to benefit, to exploit Shannan's debt so he could get a reduction in taxes by 61%.
Did he get it?
We don't know. Today, I just got that information not very long ago, and when we checked today, they indicated in whatever records they have that it was resolved, but they don't say how. So we'll find out. We'll work on it. But me? Well, that's the whole point. He says Shannan knocked on his door. So they paid money to some, one of these companies that goes around and makes up these applications. So he spent a lot of money doing this, and it's under his name. And he actually says that. So that means this to me. That means he was there. He was home, and he heard that knock, and he didn't do anything about it. And that blood-curdling scream took place right next to his window. And he did nothing about it. He didn't answer the door. Or, he wasn't there, and he heard from somebody that Shannan knocked on the door. We know that. Was he there? Was he present with what we think are others who were present on Brewer's deck? Interesting question. But this guy is, clearly implicated in this child sex abuse scandal of the Catholic Church. And it takes you into whole new fields, like I said, it expands this field. I don't know where it takes you, maybe nowhere, who knows, but maybe somewhere. And consider that Heuermann's aunt was a sister of mercy. She's still alive, she's 103 years old. And she taught at Holy Trinity High School for years, along with the infamous Father Roberto, who abused children there and got busted for it. And, I just wonder what the whole connection of these people really are.
You think he acted alone?
There's plenty of evidence that he would appear to act alone in some instances that I have, that have not been revealed. But in light of some of the other circumstantial evidence that we have, there's a real strong chance that he did not act alone, and that there are others that were involved in it. Sex abusers like I do, from my work. They don't act alone usually. When they go on the internet and they're looking at all this sickness, they like to talk to others about it. They join groups even. They trade pictures. They trade stories. They rape children. They do all kinds of things like that, and they act together. So there are loners, but more often than not, they share these kind of things. So there's a real chance that, and he was a joiner. He joined a lot of different groups that he was involved. There's an interesting twist on this when you look at one of the items that was put in the police inventory were survivalist gear. And those people that they think the world's coming to an end or a bomb is going to fall, they want to be ready for it. So they go in. Boy Scouts times 3. They go into the woods. They go into the marshes. They build little huts. They hunt. They wear camouflage. This guy's always wearing camouflage. Heuermann, twice we know of when he had camouflage on. And he's got survivalist equipment. Why does that matter? Because Dr. Peter Hackett testified that, you can see it, it's on the internet. He testified that he ran a company called Survivalist Dynamics, and that he ran it with another man who was involved as a cruise ship captain, and from the Merchant Marine Academy graduate. An interesting connection. I don't know where it takes you, but when Heuermann's secretary Enriquez talked on television recently and said that when she worked for him, he was a hunter, he was a really enthusiastic hunter, and he liked to stalk. He liked to let people know he was following them, he could do that. And she said, well, I'm going to be out on a cruise, and it'll be in the middle Atlantic Ocean, you know where I am. And he said, oh yes I will, you'll see. And all of a sudden, while she's out on that cruise, under her door comes an envelope, and it's from him saying, see, I told you so, words to that effect. Okay? So there are circumstances that need to be looked into, but they could connect up. Maybe. I don't know. So now I got a lot of hands. Your hand, you two guys, you two. How's that? Let's start with you, man. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to know if I have two questions. The first one was the fact that the commissioner is resigning. Does that have to do with him getting information about this case and, pissing off the DA and and things like that? Or do you think going forward it's going to be a little bit more difficult to cooperate with Suffolk police, or do you not think so, or are you not sure?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I honestly, I had talked to Rodney before he resigned, and before he held the press conference with me, and I think honestly, he's a straight shooter, that guy, and he has his kids, he's got some wonderful children, 2 of them are cops, and the other one is a big superstar at Wake Forest in basketball. She's a senior, so she might go pro if he wants to be there with her. So, he's a good family guy, and he knows he had to get out one way or the other, so he just had to time it correctly, and I think he did. He did it well. So I don't see this is a guy that if you pushed him, and he said, he doesn't chicken out and walk away and say, no way, not right. No.
And then the other question was there any other evidence that you had found out that you were allowed to tell us about the wife of Rex being more involved, since she knew about the swinging?
The evidence we have, and I've talked to the witnesses, say it's overwhelmingly likely that she knew about his, what shall I call it, diversions with all of these sex workers, one after the other. So much so that in one case he would have to wind up and spend a fortune on it, because that's not cheap. And she would have been home, according to the people that talked to me, and she was there. Now, if you, in that little, we also found out another new thing. I'll give you first bit on this, okay? He said, hey, I got to kick out this. But on October 5th, a document was filed in Suffolk County Clerk's Office in Beacon that was signed on September 22nd of this year, where Rex Heuermann deeded over that little house to Osa, A-S-A, Osa, his wife, without consideration, without any money being exchanged. Now that's inherently a presumptive fraud on creditors, right? Whether it's a matrimonial reason to do it or not. And the interesting thing about that transfer as well was that it showed the size of the house. That house was 1,300 square feet. That is a box.
Yeah.
I don't know if even this room is bigger than the house. How could somebody living in that house, where the boundaries of the next door neighbors are very tight to it, not notice that sex workers were going in downstairs and servicing it? It's impossible to believe in this day and age of cell phones and computers, and women always being women. I call upon your intuition and say, you wouldn't know? For 27 years this guy was doing this? You wouldn't smell it in his clothing? You know, and you want to believe that? I guess you can believe anything you want, right? So can I. I have this evidence, and I can't avoid it. So now, you and I can do that.
Yes. When Shannon called 911 and the police finally were there parts of it that were cut out?
Well, that's a good question, too. So far, all good questions. We don't know. It doesn't look like it, doesn't seem like it, not absolutely certain, because when Detective Portella delivered the tape to me, I said, where's the original? I'm supposed to get the original. I'm supposed to get your enhancements, your voice enhancement papers, and any transcript of the tape that you guys made. That's part of the subpoena. That's what I'm supposed to get. They didn't do any enhancement. They did not take a transcript of what was in the tape. And they gave me a copy of a copy. They did not ever have the original. So they were holding out to the court all those years that they fought to all the different courts that they had it, and they weren't giving it up because it was an open active investigation, and that was not true. They did not have the original ever. Instead, the New York State Police Department had it all along, and I had subpoenaed them just in case. I had subpoenaed them as well, and they said, we're not obeying the subpoena, and we're going to go along with whatever Suffolk County does. And to this day, we think now, that because we call the state police, they don't think they have it, it's lost. So we're working with a copy of a copy. That answer your question? Well, you had your chance. No.
I saw somebody on TV saying, or I don't know if you, somebody saying that his wife's been indicted.
I did not say that. I never said that. I said she knew what was going on about the sex workers going there, and that by implication that means that she's part of an ongoing enterprise, right? And that makes her culpable. That I say, I still say. Okay. But I had said sort of you see. Okay.
I know you had said before that there was enough evidence against Rex, I guess, to charge him for investigation. So is anybody actively being investigated as far as for the death of
No. Nobody is being investigated right now that we know of by the police department, but Commissioner Harrison said that any new evidence would be considered 1,000%.
We'll carry on from where we left off with the rest of this. Go to, I think it's up here with John Ray's, I think it's called True Lisk, if you want to go and watch the rest of that. But we'll watch it next time. That's all for me. I am going to struggle to put a title on this one, I know it. Take care. Bye.